Have you always known that you're on a soul path? And have you wondered how to gain real insight into the steps along your own unique journey? Welcome everyone, I'm Sarah Main, and thank you for joining me on Damayanti, the show for your soul. I'm so glad to have you along. Damayanti means peace and calm. Damayanti sheds a light for your soul through the wisdom that shines in the universal language of Sanskrit. Damayanti is the show that speaks to your soul, connects with your soul, and enriches your soul. Join me now on Damayanti, the show for your soul, and be inspired and uplifted by the beautiful light of this profound, timeless wisdom. Welcome everyone. Welcome along to Damayanti, the show for your soul with me, Sarah Main. And it's wonderful to have you along today. And I hope you're doing great and having a great day. And today's show is called The Great Escape, why we should try to get out of our comfort zone. Well, who's ready for the Great Escape? I mean, are you aware that you have a comfort zone? You may have heard that term before. Are you aware of it? If you're on a soul path, you would have come across it, because there's usually some little prodding to keep going. And sometimes it is a little uncomfortable. There's a beautiful quote that says, "A ship in harbour is safe, but that's not what ships are built for." A ship in harbour is safe, but that's not what ships are built for. And the first bit I want to address about moving out of your comfort zone is, why does enthusiasm for our inner work, for doing this sort of inner work, why does it tail off? Once we start on our soul path, first there's great enthusiasm, as is naturally often the case with a new thing. And then we are practicing things and we're experiencing the benefits of them. And then for some reason, it seems to taper off. It's a bit like New Year's resolutions. And I know a person, and he's a wonderful friend, and he's a good guide and teacher for people who are seeking to wake up and develop mindfulness skills. And he was talking about some people that he was working with, we could call them his students, and he was saying how enthusiastic and appreciative they are of what he's teaching them. But he was puzzled that no matter how keen and committed they are to what he's doing, they hit roadblocks at some point on their path. And they seem to always go through these periods where they stopped doing these exercises that they knew from their own personal experiences were really helping them, were nourishing them, were opening their hearts and calming their minds. And they failed to apply themselves to what he was teaching, even though they knew it was giving them life-changing results. They just couldn't seem to get over that hurdle. So why do people fall into these holes, was his question to me. Well, I mean, there is a lot that can be said about this. There are natural rhythms in every human pursuit. There are ebbs and flows, there are ups and downs. And that includes studying meditative and spiritual practices. So I think we have to firstly cut ourselves a bit of a break and say there are natural rhythms in everything that we do, and we know that. And the learning curve is not a straight line. There's just natural ups and downs. And there are periods where we want to work, or students work to understand a new teaching and put it into practice and become really enthusiastic about the results, and then the energy seems to fade. And one of the reasons for that is it often can be because we've actually learnt the lesson and worked at it, and the fruits of the practice have been assimilated subconsciously, and we just sort of almost forget to practice because it's become part of us. And we're no longer practicing something that's separate from us. We've assimilated it. So that's one of the reasons that for this, the sort of conscious effort, conscious practice seems to fall away. There's another explanation, and this relates to the three natural universal energies. And being universal, they're always present, they're ever present. And these energies can be described as stillness, activity, and inertia. Three different energies, they're natural and they're universal and they're ever present. All three are present all the time and they play off each other. Someone once described them to me as, gave them names, different names from the ones I knew, and they were referred to as swan energy, tiger energy, and sloth energy, which I thought was really fantastic. Swan energy being the energy of stillness and calmness, then tiger energy, the energy of activity, and inertia being sloth energy. So a little wakeful swan focus can lead to purposeful tiger action under the knowledge that's gleaned. And then that can be followed up by a period of rest or inertia to recharge the batteries. So the third sloth phase may have been one that my friend saw in some of his students, a natural period of rest after the energized, focused work. So that's one way of looking at it. And another one is resistance to change. So we've got the natural up and down of just any pursuit that we do. It's a natural human phenomena. Then we have this, another way of looking at it is these three universal energies that are ever present, playing off each other. And it could be a period of sort of rest after work that he recognizes as people, or he determines is their effort tapers off. They don't just sort of keep at it the whole time. And then the other one is resistance to change. And this can be a reason why this sort of drop off of enthusiasm, which is actually less than positive. There's an inner opposition that can arise when someone's trying to change their life. And the change, just consider change for a minute. By definition, we're moving from familiar into unfamiliar territory. We're moving from that habitual state, which is familiar, to something new, a new way of living, a new way of thinking, a new way of feeling. And we go from what seems to be comfortable to something that's uncomfortable. And with that can come feelings of doubt or insecurity and discomfort. And in fact, if you're not experiencing a little of these uncomfortable feelings, there's every chance that you are not experiencing genuine change. And anyone who's used to entrepreneurial ventures will know this. It's just part of the course, part of the landscape, part of the territory. So getting used to the feeling of a bit of discomfort. It doesn't have to be huge, can escalate sometimes, like this ebb and fall, but this general feeling of just sort of slight insecurity goes with entrepreneurial events, because you haven't got a fixed situation and it all rests on you to build a company, build a business, create something new. So change by definition really does bring a certain sense of discomfort or insecurity. So in my book, Conscious Confidence, Use the Wisdom of Sanskrit to Find Clarity and Success, I actually devote a chapter to what I call the fear barrier, and there's an overcoming or getting beyond the comfort zone. And I have a diagram. It's not in the book, but I've got it. Actually, if you're viewing this on YouTube, you will see the diagram. If you're listening to it, you'll just have to imagine it. This fear diagram and living within the fear barrier and this comfort zone diagram. And it's concentric circles and it's light on the inside, and it increasingly gets darker with concentric circles until it's quite dark. And then beyond the darkest external circle is then light, sort of light that stretches all around without any limit. So within that comfort zone, right in the middle, we're actually relatively efficient, we're confident, we're competent, we go about our lives, we're reasonably effective, we meet the ordinary demands that are thrown at us. And within that circle, there is a degree of light and contentment, and things basically get done. So really, what's wrong with that? Well, nothing at all, great. Unless you hear of a larger, freer world that's beyond our ordinary circumscribed existence. Circumscribed means with a boundary, ascribed by a boundary around it. Having heard of this wider world, it's natural for a desire to arise for it. It's just natural in our human nature. Then work has to be done to reach that new world. So there's a quick side note. I just wanted to mention a bit of caution here. New ways of thinking or acting or feeling aren't necessarily better or more efficient than the old ways. That's a separate conversation. Just because we've now got this new idea, it doesn't necessarily mean it's better than the older ways. And I would caution the new shiny object syndrome, where that can just be a distraction and an avoidance, and it's justified as new ideas. So we need to have our feet on the ground about this. So just pointing out that the effort to try something new and perhaps even risky has an attendant subtle force of resistance. So overcoming that force of inertia is what I'm actually addressing. It's not necessarily the new idea itself, something new, because like I say, that can just be a shiny object syndrome of distraction. It's this discomfort. So overcoming that force of inertia is what I'm actually going to address. So once you're out of your comfort zone and past that fear barrier, you can do things however you want. And the old ways can be the order of the day. They can be good to do, but you will bring a fresh energy to them, a new view, and they'll no longer be done out of habit and just because you've always done them that way. You'll do it more consciously. So I'm going to take a break now, and then after the break, I'm going to talk about this mounting pressure to turn back into the comfort zone, and that keeps us trapped. And we're going to talk about the moving beyond your comfort zone and stepping free of fear. So we'll be back after the break, and we're going to start getting into the nitty-gritty of getting out of the comfort zone and past the fear barriers. So we'll be back soon. Welcome back to Damayanti, the show for your soul. And today we're talking about the great escape, why you should try to get out of your comfort zone. And before the break, I was just talking about the fact of there being a comfort zone, and now we're getting up to the point of that mounting pressure when we desire to get out of our comfort zone because we wanted to experience a larger, freer world and fulfill our potential as limitless, universal, sovereign beings. We do meet this area within ourselves that is comfortable. It's the known, it's the familiar. And it is, oddly enough, it has a relative light about it because it's where we generally live. It's our sort of set point, if you like. And we get things done, we get through our lives, we do stuff, and it's great. But when we know there's more of us to give, there's more of us to give expression to, we can run up against this sort of inertia. And one of the ways we can experience that is through the fear barrier. And before I get into that, if you want to know more about Damayanti for your soul, you can go to my website, damayanti.store. That's Damayanti, Damayanti.store, damayanti.store. And you'll see lots of things there. You can check out other links to my shows. There's a full archive of all my shows there. So just go to the podcast page. There's a blog there with lots and lots of articles on all sorts of topics, including this one about the comfort zone. So you can go and see my blog, read my blog. I'm on social media on Facebook and Instagram. So check that out at Damayanti. Or put my name in, Sarah Main, Sarahmane, and Damayanti on Facebook and Instagram. And also these shows do come up on YouTube as well. And you can purchase some beautiful spiritual jewelry that I have, and that has these Sanskrit words on them, special meaning. And I choose them specially so that you can keep a lasting memory with you of whatever energy is important to you at the time. It may be love, universal love, prema, maybe patience, kshama, calm patience. It may be shakti, divine energy, and that's the divine creative energy. It may be balam, strength, or abhyasa, resilience. So there's all sorts of collections there. There's 8 collections. And you may find a beautiful gift for yourself or someone else. And this jewelry is designed to keep that energy and that memory close to you. So check out my website, damayanti.store, to find out more. So let's get into moving beyond the fear barrier and getting out of our comfort zone. So in the diagram that if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. Imagine concentric circles, and it's light on the inside, right in the center, which is our comfort zone. And it's slowly getting darker as it reaches the very edge, outer boundaries of the circle. And then beyond that is light. It's just limitless light in all directions. And the gradation from light to darkness, but the darkness has a boundary, and then beyond that is light, shows that things can get a bit tough, and as we move out of our comfort zone. But that is a passing phase in getting out of our comfort zone. And it just shows that if we're meeting some of this resistance within ourselves, we're actually doing some work and we're getting down to it. So you're not going backwards, and things are not getting worse. Things are actually getting better, the fact that you're meeting these things. But it's time to do some work. And some of the things we may meet, for example, we might meet some anger, especially when the prompt to leave our familiar patterns comes up from an external source. For example, our boss or our spouse, partner, children, or just some friends and acquaintances sort of press us to do things differently, and we react with annoyance, get irritated. And then we blame them if something goes wrong, or if we feel that there's too many demands on us, and the temptation arises to scurry back into our old way of thinking or acting. That's one way. So the sort of anger, annoyance, irritation's one. Another one is apathy and boredom and just a blah, lack of energy. That is a sign that we're actually meeting something. The other, we're meeting sort of resistance. Then the other one is, or the mind can start to generate a plethora of excuses. Sort of all sorts of things can crowd our timetable, so we never actually get round to doing whatever it is that will actually ultimately set us free. So that's another one. It's just a whole lot of reasons for not addressing something. And then there's the elephant in the room, and that's the big one, fear. And fear can show itself in all sorts of forms, like anxiety or insecurity or self-doubt. And fear's many facets have the effect of freezing our heart and sending us back into the comfort zone. So it's really important, not so much to criticize ourselves, but just be aware of the potential of how fear operates in these subtle ways where we know it in obvious ways. But this is a subtle way, it's internal fear. So the comfort zone is not that comfortable, actually. And you may be getting a little inkling of this. And Eddie Harris Jr., he said, the sooner you step away from your comfort zone, the sooner you'll realize it wasn't all that comfortable. And I've certainly found that in my life. You don't realize it. You keep it on like an old pair of slippers, but actually when you get free of it, you realize, oh, I don't want to put those back on again. So the comfort in comfort zone is actually illusory. And this is because it's liable to be disrupted at any moment by unexpected events, external events. And these surprises are usually beyond the control of our relative efficiency and competence that we have within the bounds of our comfort zone. And there's another quotation: the comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. The comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. I always liked that one. That sort of kept me thinking, kept me alert about it. True growth and freedom lies beyond the limits of the fear barrier and the comfort zone. And there's a whole new world of your potential, your universality, your limitlessness waiting for you when you've done the work to move out of your comfort zone. The whole world can open up when you've met those barriers to freedom with courage, determination, and it does take a bit of discipline. So this new world has its own geography and signposts, and it has some challenges and pitfalls for sure, but it's a world of freedom where growth is possible. Because remember, nothing ever grows there, all right? The comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. And beware of that sort of false security and safety of the comfort zone. So outside that comfort zone, you find creativity, power, and a conscious confidence in yourself. It's a real confidence. So when we break free, as I said before, we find another whole world waiting for us. And it's only when we've awakened to the fact that in the comfort zone, we're in Shakespeare's words, cabined, cribbed, confined, and bound in, that we desire to make our escape. And this is because the escape, to be effective and long-lasting, has to be conscious and disciplined. It involves work. I know these are sort of yucky sounding words, but it involves some work, and it's the effort of being aware that we don't want to go back into those old habits. We want the freedom, the growth. We want to experience our true self, our true potential, that we will engage in some sort of discipline to break free. So a final point, beware of the apparent safety of the comfort zone. And it's exactly that. It's a mere appearance. And if your vision is limited to only a few feet in front of you, then you won't see the sort of life events. One way of looking at it is like a freight train barreling towards you out of the fog. You won't see that. So beyond the fear barrier, your vision is so much wider, and you'll see these life events coming towards you, and you can take appropriate action. So remember, it's all okay, even when the going gets a bit tough. No effort is ever lost, no matter how bad a day you're having. Keep going, never, ever give up. And practice steadiness and stillness. On Instagram, I think, certainly on my social media, I often post daily breather, which is just like a 60-second moment to just be still, just press pause on the activity of the day, the responsibilities, just for a moment, and come back to stillness and develop that ability to fall still straight away and get that anchor. And actually in my book, I put in an exercise called the anchor, and that is a more extended experience where you develop that anchor within yourself to what's true, real, and strong. And it's really important to get that, because this takes you through these difficult, challenging times. One final encouraging quote: when you step out of your comfort zone, you are stepping into your greatness. So I'm going to end by chanting some Sanskrit for you. And my next show is going to be on the 3 great lessons: restraint, generosity, and compassion. So I'd love you to check that out. 3 great lessons: restraint, generosity, and compassion. So a little bit of Sanskrit to finish. And this is from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Lead me from the unreal to the real. Lead me from darkness to light. Lead me from death to immortality. May peace and peace and peace be everywhere. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you for spending time with me on Damayanti, the show for your soul. To find out more about Damayanti, or to get my book, Conscious Confidence, Use the Wisdom of Sanskrit to Find Clarity and Success, or to purchase my range of beautiful spiritual jewelry, go to my website, damayanti.store. That's DAMAYANTI.store. Damayanti.store. See you next time.